Good morning, students. Welcome back to the lecture series of remote sensing. Today, we are going to talk about radar. So, basically, in today's lecture, we will talk about what is radar, the principles of imagining a radar, the properties of radar, and the application of radar. So, what is radar? So far, you have learned about remote sensing using the visible and infrared part of electromagnetic spectrum. Microwave remote sensing uses electromagnetic waves with wavelength between 1 millimeter to 1 meter. These relatively longer wavelengths have advantage that they can penetrate clouds and are independent of atmospheric conditions like haze. In microwave remote sensing, there are active and passive sensors. Passive sensors operate similarly to thermal sensors by detecting naturally emitted microwave energy. They are used in meteorology, hydrology, and oceanography. While in active system, the antenna transmit microwave signal from an antenna the Earth's surface where they are backscattered. The part of electromagnetic energy that is scattered into the direction of antenna is detected by the sensor. There are several advantages to be gained from the use of active sensors, which have their own source of energy. It is possible to acquire data at any time, including during night, similar to the thermal sensors. Since the waves are created actively, the signal characteristics are fully controlled, that is, wavelength, the polarization, the incident angle, etc., and can be adjusted accordingly to the desired applications. Active sensors can be divided into two groups, that is, imagining and non imagining sensors. Radar sensors belong to the group of most commonly used active imagining microwave sensors. The term radar is an acronym for radio detection and ranging, where radio stands for the microwave and range is another term for distance. Radar sensors were originally developed and used by military. Nowadays, radar sensors are widely used in civil applications too, such as environmental monitoring. To the group of non-imagining microwave instruments, uh, there are altimeters which collects distance information, that is, for example, sea surface heights. There is scatterometer which acquire information about the object properties, for example, wind speed. Here in today's lecture we'll focus about the principles of imagining radar and its applications. The interpretation of radar imaginally is less intuitive than the obtained from the optical sensor, but because of the limitation of time and the syllabus, we are not going to work on the interpretation of radar imagery. It will be focused later on. So, what are the principles of imagining radar? Imagining radar systems include several components. It includes a transmitter, a receiver, an antenna, and a recorder. The transmitter used to generate the microwave signal and transmit the energy to the antenna, from where it is emitted towards the Earth's surface. The receiver accepts the backscatter signal as received by the antenna, filters and amplifies it as required for recording. The recorder then stores the received signal. Imagining radar acquires an image in which each pixel contains a digital number according to the strength of the backscattered energy that is received from the ground. The energy received from each transmitted radar pulse can be expressed in terms of physical parameters and illumination geometry using the so-called radar equation, which you are actually seeing on the screen. The radar equation, that is P of R, is equivalent to G. G stands for antenna gain, the square of antenna gain, the square of the wavelength, the square of the transmitted energy represented by P of T, and sigma, the radar cross section area, that is the average backscattered energy per unit area. And it is also dependent on the range of the sensor to the object, which is indicated by R. From this equation you can see that there are three main factors that influence the strength and that influence the strength of the backscatter received energy. The first is radar system properties, that is wavelength, antenna and transmitted power. Then comes the radar imagining property or geometry, that is incident angle and range. And the last come object characteristics in relation to the radar signal, that is surface roughness, terrain topography and its orientation. So I am going to explain each and every one of this in detail. What exactly does a radar system measure? Which is one of the important questions that you have If you don't have, then also you listen it. To interpret radar image correctly, it is important to understand what a radar sensor detects. Imagine the transmitter creates microwave signal, that is pulses of microwaves at regular interval, which is called the pulse repetition frequency, that are bounded by the antenna into beam. This beam travels through the atmosphere, illuminates a portion of Earth's surface, and is backscattered and passed through the atmosphere again to reach the antenna, where the signal intensity is received. From the time the signal needed to pass twice the distance between the object and the antenna, and knowing the speed of light, the distance between the sensor, that is a range, and object can be derived. Similarly, the position of the received energy per line is determined and is possible to generate an image containing the difference backscatter intensity, signal intensities. With the movement of the sensor, which is similar to the optical remote sensing, a two-dimensional image can be created. The radar sensor, therefore, measures distance and detects backscatter signal intensity. Once again, I am repeating, the radar sensor measures distance and detects backscattered signal intensity. So, what are the commonly used imaging radar bands? So, commonly used imaging radar bands. Similar to optical remote sensing, radar sensors operate with different bands for better identification. A standard has been established that defines various wavelength ranges using letters to distinguish among the various bands. In the description, which you are seeing in this figure, uh, radar missions, you will recognize the different wavelength used for the letter. For example, the European mission in ERS mission and the Canadian RADARSAT mission, they use a C band radar. So what does this C band stands for? You can clearly see in the microwave spectrum and its identification later. Just like multispectral bands, different radar bands provide information about different object characteristics. Then come one of the important topic is called microwave polarization. Microwave polarization. You are quite familiar with the term polarization. Uh, I hope you are aware about what do you mean by polarization. If not, then we will basically go through a simple understanding, a basic understanding of the polarization. The polarization of an electromagnetic wave is important in the field of radar remote sensing. Depending on the direction of the orientation of the transmitted and received radar wave, polarization will result in different images. Imagine the field, electric field and magnetic field, which are perpendicular to each other, and at the third axis, there is a distance, velocity of light. A vertical polarized electromagnetic wave. In the electric field, variation occurs in the vertical plane. If you remember, using different, it is possible to work with horizontally, vertically, and cross polarized radar waves using different polarization techniques and radar bands. You can collect information that is useful for particular application, for example, classification in agriculture field. In radar systems description, you will come across the following abbreviation. For example, in every radar system, horizontal transmission HH. HH stands for horizontal transmission and horizontal reception. VV stands for vertical transmission, vertical reception. HV and VH both are stands. For example, HV stands for horizontal transmission and vertical reception, and VH stands for vertical transmission and horizontal reception. It should be noted that the first term, either it is HH, VV, HV, or VH, the first term stands for transmission and the second term stands for reception. Okay. So now comes to the next topic, that is the geometrical properties of radar. The geometric properties of radar. In this, we are going to talk about the three major properties of radar. That is the radar viewing geometry, spatial resolution, and synthetic aperture radar. So, you know that the platform carrying the radar sensor moves along the orbit in flight direction. You can see the background track of the orbit or flight path on the Earth's surface at nadir. The microwave beam illuminates an area swath or swath on the Earth's surface. Okay, I hope you are understanding. On Earth's surface with an offset of the nadir. The direction along track is called azimuth and the direction perpendicular is called range, which we have already talked about in our previous lecture of remote sensing. The first and important point we are going to talk about radar viewing geometry. So, radar viewing geometry. Radar sensors are side looking instruments. The portion of the image that is closest to the nadir track of the satellite carrying the radar is called near range. The part of the image that is farther or farthest from the nadir is called a range. The incident angle of the system is defined as the angle between the radar beam and the vertical, as seen in the figure. Okay. Moving from near range to far range, the incidence angle increases. It is important to distinguish between incidence angle of the sensor and the local incidence angle, which differs depending on terrain slope. It is defined as the angle between the radar beam and the local surface normal. The radar sensor measures the distance between antenna and the object, and this line is called slant range. So these are important definitions which are necessary in order to understand the geometrical property of a radar. Viewing geometry. This is nothing but a viewing geometry of radar. So whenever you are going to work with a radar image or radar sensors, you will know what if you have checked the data sheet of a sensor satellite, which are called ATPT. You can see this type of information in it, which is important for analysis purpose. Okay. Similarly, there we also know that is ground range. What is ground range? But the true horizontal distance along the ground corresponding to each measure point in slant range is called ground range. It is clearly shown in this figure. Now comes the second important property, that is we say a spatial resolution. So in radar remote sensing, the images are created from transmitted and backscattered signal. If each signal transmitted pulse from one element in the image, the system is called real aperture radar. Again, I am repeating it. If each signal transmitted pulse forms one element in the image system is called real aperture radar. The spatial resolution in slant range and azimuth direction are defined by pulse length and antenna beam width respectively due to the difference parameter that determine the spatial resolution in the two direction is different. It is very much important. For radar image processing and interpretation, it is useful to resample the image data and to regular pixel spacing in both direction. In the case of ERS-1 SAR, that is European radar set SAR, for example, this spacing is 30 meter into 30 meter. Then also there is a slant range resolution. Slant range resolution is important when you talk about the slant range of a radar. We know that in slant range, the spatial resolution is defined as the distance that two objects on the ground have to be apart to give two different echoes in the return signal. In other words, two objects will be resolved in the range direction if they are separated by at least half a pulse length. The slant range resolution is independent of the range. However, in ground range geometry, the resolution will depend on the incidence angle. And the last and important it comes is the azimuth resolution. The spatial resolution in the azimuth direction depends on the beam width and the range. The radar beam width is proportional to the wavelength and inversely proportional to the antenna length, that is aperture. This means the longer the antenna, the narrower the beam, the higher the spatial resolution in the azimuth direction. The third and the final important point in viewing geometry is a synthetic aperture radar. Obviously, there is a physical limit to the length of the antenna. The aperture that can be carried on an aircraft or satellite has a limitation of the height. So the length of antenna will be limited. it has some physical limitation. On the other hand, shortening the wavelength has its limitations in penetrating cloud. Therefore, an approach in which the aperture is increased synthetically is applied. Systems using the approach are called synthetic aperture radar. The synthesization of the antenna length is achieved by taking advantage of the forward motion of the platform and using several backscattered signals of one object to simulate a very long antenna. Most airborne and spaceborne radar systems use this type of radar. Okay, hope you have understand it. One of the topic which I have not covered is the distortion in the radar image. That is, we encounter various type of variation in the scale for means foreshortening, layover, shadows, and speckle effect in the radar images when we do our means analysis. This type of distortion which comes under scale distortions, terrain-induced distortions, which cover foreshortening and layover and shadow, and the last one is the radiometric distortion, which has multi-loop processing and speckle filters. Now these are and the second topic which I have not covered here is the interpretation of radar images, because it is not covered in the syllabus. But if I cover it, the length of this lecture will be much high, so I am neglecting this. It is used when you work on a radar image. It is not in your syllabus, so it has not been covered. Okay. So the last topic which we are going today is the application of radar. There are many useful application of radar images. Radar data provided complementary information to visible and infrared remote sensing data. In the case of forestry, radar images can be used to obtain information about forest canopy, biomass, and different forest types. Radar images also allow the differentiation of different land cover types such as urban area, agriculture field, water body, etc. In agriculture crop identification, the use of radar images acquired using different polarization, mainly airborne, is quite effective. It is crucial for agriculture applications to acquire data at certain point in time to obtain the necessary parameter. This is possible because radar can operate independently of weather or daylight condition. In geology and geomorphology, the fact that radar provides information about the surface texture and roughness plays an important role in lineament detection and geological mapping. Other successful applications of radar include hydrological modeling and soil moisture estimation, based on the sensitivity of the microwave to the dielectric properties of the observed surface. The interaction of microwave with ocean surface and ice provide useful data for oceanography and ice monitoring. Operational systems use data from the SAR system and radars at different programs. In this framework, the data is also used for oil slick monitoring and environmental protection. Looking at the SAR interferometry, there are plenty of interesting examples in the field of natural disaster monitoring and assessment. For example, earthquake, volcanic eruptions, flooding, etc. So students, I hope you have enjoyed this lecture on radar. If you have any doubt, you can message me or you can ask me anytime. Hope you have enjoyed this lecture. Once again, thank you. Goodbye. Have a nice day.